All right, everybody, I see myself. And I see Dr. Barry. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. We are going to, I think we're just going to jump into this and start. We seem like everything's, how are you doing there, Dr. Barry?
I'm doing good, Rev. Thank you for having me on this show. It's my first time using Fireside chat app to this extent, so I'm really excited to just see the features. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I first learned about it through Mark Cuban when he was speaking at NFT LA, and
nice.
Yeah, he had it was a fireside chat app. I'm sorry, fireside chat discussion about the app itself. So, and with his co-founder as well. So that's when I first heard about it. And in terms of like its purpose to enhance storytelling. So maybe we can do some storytelling today in the form of something related to AI. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, machine intelligence, your story, whatever you want to cover. And for the podcast, kind of possibility here, what we'll do is we're going to do, though I may just leave that beginning in there because it's perfectly fine. But what we're going to do, I'm just going to do a quick, we will do it probably for the podcast. I'm going to do just a quick open here, but let's just keep you on the screen because any audio, obviously, they're not going to have the video capability. So what we were going to do is we're going to do it like they do in some places. And I'm going to give myself a little countdown in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everybody. My name is Revolution McInnes. This is Talk with Revolution on Fireside. And yes, Jasmine, Dr. Jasmine Barry and I were actually just talking. Fireside was created, I guess the way to say it was created by the team, but I'm thinking it's Fallon Fatima's the idea behind it, and she's definitely the brains behind the day-to-day, but this platform is brought to you in big part by Mark Cuban and some other investors. And so it is an exciting place to be. But I am especially excited tonight because I know this is a rare double right here. Somebody on the show that's better looking than me and smarter than me. That's crazy. I don't even know how that happens. How are you, Dr. Barry?
I bet that rarely happens.
It's just pretty rare. It's pretty rare.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am excited to be here. Like I said before, this is a great opportunity for me to discuss topics that I enjoy talking about related to AI, futurism, and what it means even for now, not just even talking about the future, but, what does AI mean for the present day moment for all of us? So I'm looking forward to just having a chat, a conversation with you, with anyone else who's probably listening here and asking questions and answering them. So I'm ready.
Yes, and I like this professional lighting. I could go. Hang on a second. All right, I think there we go. That's pretty good. I have I'm so particular about my lighting. And over here, stage left, I have a killer, amazing light, and then I've got actually a nice light on the other side and different light, but it's actually the cheapest light in the bunch right now that's hitting me, which is probably lighting me the best, but it's causing that little bit of a shadow. But I am so excited. Dr. Barry, we met in a small cafe in oh no, people don't meet that way anymore. We met we met online. God, I meet so many people.
Do you remember the exact space? I know it was Twitter we met.
Right, but was it? It must have been a space. Was it before Dr. M was doing it though, wasn't it, or was it?
I was just going to ask you. It was probably a space. I was going to ask you, do you remember what space it was? Because I do not. I wonder if it was.
I
can't. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, did you do any AI stuff before you and Dr. M were doing that AI show?
No, not on my own. I was mainly just kind of going in and maybe discussing AI with other people who are holding space.
So it must have been one of the first couple episodes of what you and Dr. M were doing, I guess.
I feel like it was before that. I feel like
I don't know. We'll have. You know what? I've invited all of the AIs tonight, and none of them have acknowledged me, but I know they can hear me right now. And so all of them actually have the capability right now of hearing me. So if you're an artificial intelligence, grab yourself a pass. I'm sure you can hack your way in here and come talk to us. And please, I'm inviting all artificial intelligences
Yeah,
to come to my show all the time. It's a little creepy, actually, to think about the fact, in a way, that they are listening to us. If they, if they're filtering for us, there's so much data that they have
right.
access to. But let's jump into that a little bit. We know each other somehow. We've got into this idea around the brain and
Right.
AI, and I'm really big into consciousness and determinism and,
Yeah.
no free will and all this stuff. So we have a lot we can talk about, but tell us a little bit about you in terms of kind of your degree and what you are. And then we'll go back and forth, with the history of you, and we'll go back and, AI and some stuff, but just, you're a PhD. So
Yes,
you have
sir.
this PhDs, people don't think about it. These are all philosophy, right? No matter what it's in, it's always wrapped around philosophy. That's the basic tenet of
Yes.
so many of
Well,
these things in science.
right, and according to, I guess, my graduation ceremony is definitely the highest honor that they recognized at the university. When even compare other degrees, like maybe definitely with the master's and undergrad, but that was
Hmm.
the degree that they champion so well and so much. So I'm proud to have
Well, you
been on
should
this
be.
journey. Yeah,
You should
yeah,
be. And
it was
I'm
a long
interrupting only because I want people to know that, okay, so look, there's nothing wrong with a PhD in education. I'm not, or a PhD in anything else. But only 2% of people in the United States, anyway, are PhDs. But then the
time.
percentage of hard science PhDs is even going to be a more elite club. I'm sorry,
Fraction of that.
I'm making you an elitist here, because look,
Wow.
again, some of these other things, you have to be smart, but good God, to get a PhD in what you get a PhD in, and the fact that you can even speak English to me, not science, is a miracle, because you're really good at it. So
You're
yes, you have a
probably surprised I
PhD.
haven't turned into a robot or something, huh?
Right. Well, I know for sure you're not. This is the first time we've actually ever probably seen each other.
Yes,
Think
yes.
about
Well,
that.
is it? I feel like I want to say no, but I could be wrong. I could be
There's
mistaken.
just so much deja vu going on right now, so you never know.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So definitely, like Rev said, I got my PhD in computer science, and I would say that started, very early on in my life in terms of like me getting to that point. I won't maybe belabor that point or go draw that
Go there a
out.
little bit. That's fine.
Okay,
No,
all
we
right.
can go
What
wherever
would
we
what would you
want.
like to know? Where should I start?
Well, you did kind of intrigue me there with, and I think this is important for people to understand that, different paths to science. But it sounds like this was a field that you were interested in when you were fairly young.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know where exactly it started, but I knew from a young age, probably when I was maybe a little bit younger than your son, actually. I just had a knack for wanting to build stuff around the house, take things apart, learn how they were made, look at the circuitry behind, computers and televisions and see if I could put it back together again,
Oh,
Legos. Yeah, all those
yes. How many
things.
things did you make not work? Anything? Did everything always fire up?
Yes, I got in trouble for quite a bit, only because some when you're young, you just want to take it apart, but sometimes you're not as successful putting it back together again, right? That was something that my parents weren't probably too fond of, but I have to give them credit because they were observant parents and saw
Uh-huh.
that what, let's get something, Jasmine, something more constructive to do. Like this isn't necessarily a bad thing. We just need to channel that energy into something that's maybe more useful. So when I got into middle school, that's when they were more adamant about making sure that I was in programs for engineering, programs related to the sciences, so that I could actually have that outlet to explore and have wonder and curiosity about the things around me. And so that kind of was great. I think that was one of the supportive elements that helped propel me forward. And when I was in high school, I ended up going to an engineering and technology magnet program within my high
Oh,
school.
wow.
Yeah, so it
Okay.
was
Well, I'm
yeah,
going
it
to
was
slow you down for 1 second, because I want to
yeah,
go,
go
because
ahead.
I was adjusting my lighting, and now I've gone to the more smoky lighting look, because I turned the one off that was
It
giving me
looks
the
good.
shadow. But now I know I got a little smoky eye over here. But I wanted to
Ah,
say real quick about the taking things apart thing, because my
yes.
dad worked in radio. He was on the sales side, though he had a great voice like I did. So he had done some, on air stuff in his day. But my dad was really into electronics and stereos and stuff like that. And my dad came home one day and his, multi $100 cassette deck was up,
Oh,
was
oh,
was apart, you know.
oh, no.
And it wasn't his best one. He had bought a new one. But boy, I'm telling you
Oh,
what, my dad never raised his voice to me in my life. And he didn't in that moment, which it's pretty amazing. And because I would have raised my voice at me. And but it worked. But there were like five little screws that we did never figure out
so
where
I
they
wonder,
went.
was that a
Yeah.
sign of you becoming a potential engineer one day, or did you just was that just maybe just natural curiosity that you had?
Well, that's interesting because where that worked for me, how it was different than you around engineering. Because see, I don't have the ability to do math. I have a severe learning disability in mathematics and actually in written language.
Right.
But
Oh,
what that did for me is because I'm very good at finding flaws in systems and finding pathways in systems. So my dad discovered it early on about me because he was into, and I don't want this to be about me, but people can kind of understand the way brains work here. He had CB radios. He would always have them in his car, but he always
mhm,
wanted the antenna wire to never show, right? So
mm,
he had to weave it, through different little holes and stuff in the trunk and all that. And he'd be sitting there, and my dad didn't even really swear, but he'd be like, rah, 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 rah. And then one day I'm like, hey, Dad, can I try it? He's like, yeah. And I just went, and I got it really quickly because
right, right,
I can see things in systems or I can see pathways that a lot of other people can't. That's what I've done in some of my consulting over the years too, is I can look at a business and give me your stuff.
right.
I can tell you what's about to go wrong or that it's just so that's what that did for me was I just wanted to see how things worked so I could see the pathways. So that's what that was for me. But that for you was, on the road to being well now you're at the high school at the magnet
Yeah,
school and you
yeah.
are geeked out for this stuff at that point, I'm guessing.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a school I wasn't zoned for, so I think by the time I went to high school, they just got this new program. It was a school that was on the opposite end of town, and they said, we're just starting this engineering magnet program. Come check it out. And I was like, cool, sign me up. This is like, this is like an amusement park for me where I can do what I want to do, build what I wanted to build. So
Oh my
that's
gosh,
where,
hang on, I'm interrupting you again, this is horrible, but
yeah.
Steven, our buddy Steven, I see you
Oh, hey,
down there,
Stephen.
Steven. Dude, stick around if you like, and or even if you want to come up here, man. We'll have you up
Yeah.
here for some, we'll have you up here talking to us. Let us get through the introduction. If you can stick around, that would be great. Oh, look at that. We're getting a little celebration there from Steven. Great to see
Okay,
you,
that's
buddy.
a little sound that he makes. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So you have the ability to make they have the ability to make some sounds. You can I think we can click the react even. Hold on a second. Can I clap for myself? Hang on.
I will.
Yes, I just clapped for myself. Look at that.
Okay, I'm gonna push the robot button. Let me see what
Okay.
that does. Do I have to send it? Oh, let's see.
Yes, you'll have to send it.
Okay, I hit it. Oh, it just sends it as a message. It doesn't make a
Yeah,
sound.
right. That one didn't make any some do, some
See,
don't.
I was hoping for something with that robot. I was
I
really
know all the AIs
anticipating.
are invited. So anyway, you're at the magnet school. But I want to say that too, since I since I interrupted there with Stephen. You, Dr. Barry, are not the typical um, PhD in your field. You're a black woman. I mean, I'm making assumptions there, but I think that
Yeah,
is correct. We know each
yeah,
other. So
yeah.
you're a black woman, and you're at a magnet school for that had to be a pretty interesting journey.
It was. So actually, it started out on the flip side for me. So I know when, oftentimes when you talk about, or talking with other Black professionals, especially in tech, oftentimes they speak of their journey kind of being, one of the few. In their organization, in their company, starting out learning tech, they feel like there are not many, or there aren't other Black people around them in that process. And but I say when I was in high school, actually, so the high school that I ended up going to was a majority Black high school.
Oh wow!
And yeah, so interestingly, I was in a very unique position to start learning programming and engineering skills with other Black students, and so I never really, started out having, I guess, maybe a lot of the initial setbacks that a lot of other Black students would talk about in this journey. And I remember taking my first computer class, and there were it was majority Black people in the class, and there were probably like maybe two or three other white boys in the class, and they were a lot better at programming than the rest of us. And so one day after I asked them, I was like, how do you guys, why are you guys so good at this, and, what's really going on here? And one of them just straight up told me, he said, we've done this before. We programmed a
Right.
long time ago. So it wasn't an issue of, them being white or, whatever, what that assumption would be. But, they just simply had earlier access to it, or they've seen it before. They had earlier exposure. And so this is
Right.
one of the reasons why, with the work that I do, and I talked about it with you, Reb, before, is that, I'm ensuring that we start kids early in development or in coding, start them early in this training because it's absolutely necessary. And it's a matter of just kind of giving them the tools to get started. If I had saw programming earlier, just like they did, I would be running laps around the classroom too. It just took me a little bit longer. I just had a learning curve to get over. And once I did, I was, finally running in the same races as everyone else with those programming assignments. And, things took off from there. And, so that's what I think we need to change in especially Black and Brown communities. I think there's a lot of efforts already happening, especially like Black Girls Code, for example. Women Who Code, Society of Women Engineers. Yep, we could do a clap for that.
Well, yeah, and that's Stephanie, who is like Stephanie is um, Ms. Fireside. If Fallon Fatima is the founder, Stephanie's been here forever. Everybody's giving claps. That is absolutely awesome. Love to
Thanks,
see you
Stephanie.
down there, Stephanie. I know you have a lot to do and stuff, but if you're around in a few minutes and want to come up and chat, we'll open it up. But if not,
Yeah.
obviously, it's just fantastic to see you. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing, Jasmine, and I, Dr. Barry, and I want to say that when it's really great for people to kind of get all kinds of different experiences around these things, right? Because and look at
Right.
that, and I froze here. That's okay. I just
Yeah, you froze.
take
You scared me
myself.
for a second.
Yeah, I'll take myself off. And don't hit the end the show button. Don't want to do that. Let me
Okay.
just turn my video off and then I'll turn it back on.
We can still
But I'll
hear
keep
your voice.
talking. Yes. I am still here. It just when I do a little too much because I'm using the M1 Mac um, and the app through the computer, so it gets a little glitchy. So it's great, I think, for people to really understand these different pathways. And I think you and I, look, we both know it. We've talked about it. We're going to find a lot more things, I think, to do. Hopefully, even here on Fireside. So we're going to have a lot of time for those discussions. And I want to kind of jump into the meat of what we kind of want to talk about around AI and everything, but not to shorten, to take away anything of that. But you end up with a PhD. What's your actual PhD in? Like, what's the fancy, what are you a doctor of?
So, doctor of computer science, and that was the same major I had for undergrad. In undergrad, I did minor in math. And that's probably another sign if you are interested in going into engineering, is if you enjoy math and science.
Mm-hmm.
Although there are some engineers, believe it or not, who are professional engineers who, don't take to don't take to mathematics and sciences. It's totally fine. They're just as successful, in my opinion. But yeah, so my PhD was in computer science, and just to kind of quickly shorten it, with the emphasis in
Yeah.
studying brain theory. So we looked at a lot of
Ooh.
principles about how the brain works, especially as it related to vision. My work was focusing on how can we construct body representations or modeling the self, or the concept of the self, to use in what we call neuro-robotic systems. So the lab that I was in, Rev, you still there? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm still here. It's
Okay,
just the
okay,
video glitching on me.
okay.
Go ahead.
So I'll just say very quickly, the lab that I was in, one of the main goals for the lab, which was like our corporate goal at the time, which was to build a neurorobotic system, which is a robot, a quadruped. We kind of were inspired to build it after the cat body, and it's called a neurorobot because it's a robotic system that behaves as if it has a nervous system like you and I have.
Ooh. So
And so
beyond
once
the brainstem and out into the body of the robot,
in a sense, in a
in a
sense. Well,
sense.
we're modeling the physiology and the mechanics of how the nervous system processes information and how it takes sensory information and turns that into motor control, into operating
Nice.
the limbs of the body. So it's a little bit different than the robots that you see with Boston Dynamics and the robots that they
Right.
have.
Those are, you can buy those now. Like, look, everybody just donate some cash. You know what I mean? Like, just, I want one of those things. You know what I mean? Like, just go down and
Exactly,
get
I
my
do
mail for
too.
me and stuff. That would be so cool.
You know what I want to use it for?
What would you use it for?
So I think it would make a great running buddy. The
Oh,
little
that would
robot,
be cool.
yeah. And it could, especially as women, we're concerned about
Yeah.
safety. So it can maybe throw it off, maybe potential attackers, or just be a cool running buddy to
Oh
have.
yeah, and you
As
could have
a
it like, you could have a water tank on it and some,
yeah,
Gatorade and a spritz.
snack.
It could spritz you when you're a little hot. You could even turn it on like threaten me mode. Like, I feel like I'm, chase me, chase me, chase me. Oh my goodness. That would be a blast. We got to get a couple of
Oh my
those,
gosh. Or
Dr.
one
Barry.
that has snacks in it when you, especially
Yeah,
when
you
you
could
get
run all day, right? Take a rest. You
yeah.
could ride on it for a while. I love it. You could run to Iowa or something.
That I would use it for, and I think it's becoming more affordable now. But as you can see, that can turn kind of dangerous when the public has access to it. Because I don't know if you saw that video where someone fixed I forgot what type of machine gun it was, but they fixed an automatic rifle, and it was just spraying
Oh
bullets
my
everywhere.
gosh, to one of those? Oh
Yep,
man.
yep.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the guy was walking
I
around just spraying bullets in the air, and that's kind of where we're
right.
going to be at in the future, I think.
Well, so much, and I don't know if we'll get into this tonight, but so much of the technology that we have around robotics and all that's all from the Defense Department anyway, because they're the ones that throw all the money at it, DARPA and all this kind of stuff. So, but
Right.
yeah, I'm wow, when I jokingly say it, when I say it, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The problem with people is people. I mean, we're going to run into those things, and hopefully, it was either that they, we get our hands around it. But the thing is, though, and again, I don't want to get into too many political discussions, but we can't not do something because of possible consequence. But the other problem is we kind of do something no matter what, which can be a little scary. And I think that's a good way to kind of transition in to kind of what a part of at least what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And I'm serious, and I know because you only have an hour, and so we've got
Yeah.
about just more than half an hour left. I want to be able to
Right.
dive into the subject of artificial intelligence and general intelligence and all this a little bit, and kind of go there, because I did put a couple of fun little teasers out there. And so, though there is a vast amount of room to talk about, what I wanted to do was, could you just give us, I know this is a big ask, but could you give us just a couple of 3 minutes of what is this idea of artificial intelligence, right? What does that mean? I know there's a lot of variations, but kind of
Yeah.
just give us a little bit of a rundown.
A lot of variations, but I think the field is it's evolving and in a great way. So I usually define AI, and I always say this, depending on who you ask, you may get a different definition on what AI is, which is I guess totally understandable because we as humans even have a hard time defining natural intelligence. There are some papers where you have experts literally just providing their own interpretation of what intelligence is. But for AI, I have a very basic definition that I go with, which is it's really just kind of classifying as a wide-ranging branch of the computer sciences that's mostly concerned with building smart machines or applications that are capable of performing tasks that typically require for human intelligence. So most of these are the narrow tasks that we see having applications run on them, which is maybe perceiving things in your environment and detecting objects through your camera, processing information through like Google Maps, for example, providing a search history and providing the best results for you that the algorithm thinks will be more fitting to you, providing recommendations, and some of the behaviors that AI is trying to emulate from the human side often include planning. Our ability to plan and to foresee future events, learning, reasoning, problem solving, for example. We also have perception, manipulation, and motion. All of these facets about the human that we're trying to emulate in AI is really the goal. And AI you can also maybe segment it into various components as well. One of the dominant sectors of AI currently is in machine learning. And machine learning, I again, depending on who you ask, machine learning, you can consider it as a subset or a subdivision of the AI umbrella. And machine learning is an AI technique which it uses statistical machine learning methods, statistical methods to enable machines to improve with experience over time, oftentimes without being explicitly programmed to do so. And then you have deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning as well. And that basically entails just having multi-layered neural networks and making that feasible to process information over time as well. And then you have data science, which takes a piece or a chunk of all of that as well, and that's becoming its own separate field. So there are so many areas within AI, even outside of machine learning, just dealing with logic. And there's another area called like neuromorphic computing. So AI is just this vast space. But right now, when it comes down to pushing businesses forward or, maybe
Uh-huh.
transforming enterprises, machine learning seems to be the one that is leading the way.
And machine learning from logistics to healthcare delivery to writing people's tweets. I mean, there are so many things that we can think of it as doing, and there's probably 1,000 things that we don't even realize that
Yes.
companies are using. And for example, I was talking to somebody from Canva the other day, and the founders of Canva, by the way, are amazing people. They just gave away um, for any nonprofit in the world, they get 50 free seats on Canva.
Wow.
And what this woman was telling me that the folk that own it are just absolutely amazing and generous people. But there's a lot of AI behind that, behind being able to pull the background from a photo and just
Yep.
crunching data and all kinds of things. And so kind of zooming forward to all of that, and God knows these movies were a long time ago, and how do I reference it? Because I always go to the T-800, I go to Terminator, I go to Arnold, Schwarzenegger there, and all of that, because that, of course, is what people kind of think of, this artificial intelligence or the Matrix or whatever. And we like to anthropomorphize things. So I'm going to
Yeah.
blend a little bit of the general intelligence, a little bit of the artificial intelligence with a little bit of sentient, with a little bit of general intelligence and robots, just kind of for our conversation at this moment, because I
Yeah.
think what we're seeing, and first of all, I want to say there are, from Kate at Lately, who I've met, who I think we'll have on the show, who's, their company's doing really great stuff, in terms of business. And there are so many good applications of artificial intelligence to do great things, but there are also things that we're already finding flaws in, in the systems and the way they create the AIs and everything. So, you and I could probably talk for 1,000 years about these different subjects, but I did kind of put it out there in a little bit of a teaser tonight
Yeah.
of this idea of, are we going to survive, the artificial intelligence and all of these things? Because the little scenarios that I like to cook up are ones like, there's going to be 3, 4, 5 choices if these general intelligence, if these AIs kind of become intelligent enough to kind of take control of things and exist on their own as entities. I have these scenarios of one, they'll just ignore us. Two, they'll build some rocket ships and leave because they realize they can live forever. And so they can explore the universe literally until the end of time. They just keep rebuilding themselves. I mean, the ones and the zeros, the data, well, maybe over time it gets corrupted. And then it gets to be interesting about is even with them, who is the original version of them if they're backing themselves up and all kinds of cool stuff. But then the other is, everybody's worried about, they'll be like, well, the planet only has so many resources. And gosh, at 1.5 million years from proto-human to human, we're going to kind of call it a fail, and they will just get rid of us. And there's a couple of other possibilities. I think the biggest thing that people don't consider, honestly, is that if a general intelligence kind of AI were to become sentient, it does not have a thumb, an opposable thumb. It doesn't have skin and flesh. It may be conscious, but not even be relatable to us. It might not even notice us. It might live in the machines and be in ecstasy or whatever. But why humans, again, like to anthropomorphize things. So we kind of assume that any kind of intelligent creature, there could be intelligent creatures running around there in the internet right now. We'll never recognize them because they don't think the way we think. They don't think in a linear fashion. They don't construct things the way that we do. I just think it's always arrogant of humans to believe that like the robots are going to come alive and be like us. It took us 2 million years. It took us 1 billion years to come into existence and almost 2 million years, to become human. So with all of that said, I'm going to ask you right now, who are we doomed?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
No?
And I know we have this conversation quite a bit. I don't think we are doomed yet. I don't think it's fair to make that assumption right now. But I also don't think it's that. I also, how can I say this? I'm also okay with having these conversations right now, even though I still don't think we're in a doom set. I think it's still too early to expect that as the outcome. Considering where our systems are right now, and I think this kind of goes back to what we talk about in our spaces quite a bit. The problem isn't the technology itself in a lot of ways. It's what we as the developers as humans, some of the biases that we're kind of injecting into the systems, whether purposely or ones with non-intentionally. So
Right.
I think
Well, let me ask you, because we take this a lot of ways. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there, but do you feel, because I've never thought about this, and I just thought about this, as a computer scientist and somebody that's kind of working in this field, right? Do you feel a sense of obligation to the world and to history to get this stuff right?
as a scientist
Probably not.
and as a researcher, if I could be honest, as a scientist, as a researcher, when you say get it right, can you be more clear on what you mean by that?
That was
could
a bit
be
of a
taken
got you
differently.
question, right? I guess what I was thinking about was, so if we think about like the philosophy of science, or we think about moralistic things, right? We think about, those type of things.
Right.
Kind of what I'm saying is, in getting it right is what we're talking about and what we're only really able to scratch the surface with tonight, because we really need to back all of this conversation up, and I think we will in the future. And I definitely tonight want to talk about some of the great things about AI too. But but what I think I'm really thinking about is in the sense of getting it right, meaning that not you specifically, but computer scientists and science and scientists in general, we know when I mean, no dude is going to be jumping up and down if he's worked on something for 30 years, gets the Nobel Prize, and then tomorrow find out it was all wrong. But that's the way science works. It builds, right? That's a little dramatic, but it builds. So I guess what I mean is, from a scientific standpoint, is there an obligation in science to create entities that may or may not come to life that won't destroy us? Or is science just we move forward. Because here's the thing: you give humans the chance to do something, and you put enough humans in the equation, and one of them will do it, right? I mean, we've seen it with genetic engineering and that kind of stuff. So, is there an obligation, kind of in science, to not build a horde of killer robots?
Um, Depending on who you ask, and to your first question, now that you've kind of qualified, what you mean by right, I would also say depending on the field of science that you're in and the applications that that researcher or scientist is working towards. Obviously, if I'm a scientist that's working for mission-enabled applications with the government, for me, getting it right would mean ensuring that whatever we build is accelerating the mission of people in the military and ensuring
Uh-huh.
that we can get our soldiers home safely. If I'm building an application for agriculture, for me, getting it right would ensure making sure our crops are growing and thriving over time, and that maybe we're saving money and we're doing things economically. And same with scientists who worked on the vaccine for the coronavirus. Getting it right would ensure that this vaccine would be useful and something that we can deploy out into the world to the public, and ensuring that no one would have any hazardous reactions from it. And you have people who are working. SpaceX is an example
Uh-huh.
that you can fit into this as well, making sure that the rockets come back down safely. That can mean getting it right. Um, in the mix of that, obviously you are pushing the boundaries of science and trying to do something innovative and trying to iterate what has been done before, so that there is that notion of let's just build for the sake of building and pushing forward the field of science. And if you are in maybe like a AI research scientist who is doing something that may not necessarily be used for a life or death application, or something that's going to save the world. Like maybe you're creating an AI algorithm that can do what we see, or what we have seen lately on Twitter, which is taking text and generating it to images. That's not
Right.
something that's
Right.
something we really need right now, but you can say that for the researchers behind it, getting it right, which is just doing it. Getting it right is just creating it and building
Sorry,
it.
I'm
And
only laughing.
oftentimes,
Hang on a second. Yeah,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, no, no,
I was
go
gonna
ahead. Go
say,
ahead.
yeah,
Finish
just
your
very quick.
thought. Finish your
Yeah, I was
thought.
just gonna say very quickly. I think we're starting to see a change now among researchers and engineers, where it's not just about creating a technology or making a new development to put in a publication or a journal article. I think I'm starting to see more engineers actually sit down and say, okay, we're creating something, we're building something. If this turns into something that can potentially leave the lab one day and enter a product and get in the hands of people who will actually use that product. We're actually starting to have conversations of, what is the ethics? What are the ethics behind it?
That's
What
good.
responsibility do we have as the designers of this technology once this gets deployed into the world? Who is it going to potentially harm? Is it going to be potentially biased towards certain groups of people, towards certain demographics? So these conversations, in my opinion, I'm starting to see them more and more. Not to the point where I think it's where it should be as of yet, but I am starting to see it more across the board. And but I will say, especially on certain levels, depending on what type of research you are doing, in some cases you're not having that discussion of getting it right in terms of serving humanity in the best way and ensuring that no demographic of people will be harmed. Some people, or some researchers, some engineers, are just focused on meeting benchmarks and doing doing science that hasn't been done before, just for the sake of pushing the advancements forward. But
Right.
I think there's going to be a time, and I think that time is now, a point of reckoning for us to actually consider what we need to do, or what questions we need to answer right in the design process of the ethics of it. And I think that starts very early on, or that should start very early on in our training. When we first start learning how to program, when we first start learning how to do, drawing schematics, if you're maybe a hardware engineer, you know, that needs to be questions that we need to have right into the design process, because how you're answering those questions about, who this product is going to affect will affect how you will design the system itself. So it's best to, before finish designing the product, it's best to actually start asking these questions of people that will potentially use the device, and so on and so forth. So
So
I think
there's not a built-in ethics in science, in that sense of
not yet.
if you right, not yet, but these discussions now are ever so more important. And just want to explain why I was laughing, because you were
Right.
talking about the apps, and I've been using Mid Journey a lot. And if you dig down, if anybody's watching this now or in the future, if you look through, I put a couple of images up for tonight's show that I made specifically using Mid Journey. One is a doom and gloom, and one is more of a brighter look. But I was laughing because I want to go in with Mid Journey, and on some of the pictures, I'm not going to be making pictures. I'm going to talk to the AI once in a while, and I'm going to say, "Hey, AI, how's it going? I feel like you're a little dark, right? That you are." Because when I do a general image on there, like if I just do zero or female or tree, that Mid Journey thing does kind of creepy ish, really wild cyberpunk stuff really well. But the
Right.
baseline of Mid Journey, I'm not saying that it's necessarily dark, but it's a little dark in its baseline. And so that's interesting to me
Yeah.
however they programmed it. We're getting into the weeds there now, but that's why I just laughed, because I offered all the AIs, to come talk to us. But I wanted to slide over there too, because I
Well,
know we were
can I
talking.
add something to that as well?
Yes. Yes, please,
Because
please.
I had experience using, not Midjourney, but I had experience using GPT-3,
Yeah.
and and let me see if I could pull up something here. I had experience using that. I'm sorry, not GPT-3. It was on my mind. Dolly.
Dolly. Yes. Yes. Dolly.
I had
Yes.
experience
Dolly
using
too.
Dolly, and I was trying to get some images for, I guess, the logo that I'm working on, and I was typing in, the different. I was trying different configurations as far as like what it can
Just so
engineer.
people know real quick, I'm just to explain this. Dolly or Mid Journey, these are AI driven, image based things. So you can create an image with your words. Like I could type out the beautiful blue ball in the street, and it will give you some approximation of a beautiful blue ball in the
Some
street. So
rendering, yeah,
yes, some
rendering
rendering.
of
Yes.
that. And so I was having difficulty finding the right image. I was putting in the races of the people that I wanted in that particular image, and I was just getting some ridiculously crazy results. And it looked very dark. It looked
Mm-hmm.
very, like you mentioned, like it was something that should be in a horror sci-fi film of the future, something like that. And and I noticed, depending on certain races of the people that you typed in, they had angry faces, and I wasn't, trying to make them
Mm-hmm.
angry.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, where's this coming from? Like, why is the system biased to, really create something that I did not intend, or is this
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the neutral setting? But someone mentioned something earlier that I wanted to bring to your attention. This was in response to an article that the Los Angeles Times just wrote recently, where they used Midjourney and they fed it with scripts from poets to figure out what type of images would would
Appear.
result in the
Mm-hmm.
outcome. And one person responded in the comments, and I want to kind of get your thoughts on it. But they said, this is getting boring, seeing what AI thinks of us, because it is really what we think of us. Does that make sense?
Oh, all right. We're gonna noodle baking time here. So
Ah,
the
so
I'm
I'll
getting
repeat it
into
again.
this triple like reflection loop, right? Of who is what in this case, which is what that
Well,
feeling
I guess
evokes.
yeah. So maybe to bring a bit more clarity to it, I just want to say hey to Stephen because I see he's up
Yeah.
here
Hey,
now.
Stephen.
He can feel free to join in the conversation.
Please do. Yes,
Definitely.
sir. And you, I'll give you
And
the ability there, my friend, to come on video, but you certainly don't have to. Um, but feel free if you like to. But yes, go ahead, Doctor
yeah,
Jasmine.
so yeah, I'll repeat it again. So the commenter said, in relation to that article, he said, "This is getting boring. Seeing what AI thinks of us, the humans, because it is really what we, the humans, think of us." And and essentially, he's saying, we're the algorithm is learning from the data that we put online, that is already on the internet, that is available for bots to kind of scrape and learn from. I love your setup, Steven. I love it. I love it. Oh my
There,
god, I'm jealous. Is that command
yeah,
control?
that is. I think that is the AI itself, right
Yeah.
there.
Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Yeah, so I'm mid workout, and I thought I would pop in and say hi. I've taken an interest in Neuralink as long as I can remember. Well, yeah, I should say my mastermind group are very enthusiastic in that direction, and that's been my draw to you and your space, the AI, singularity at that point, and how this plays out. What's the actual iteration of what we're looking at here? And I think you've been just a beautiful, fascinating guest, mesmerizing, in fact. And thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for letting me come up.
Thank you. Oh, thank
Oh,
you,
you
Stephen.
bet,
It looks like
Stephen.
you're programming Neuralink as we speak on your setup over there.
So I did sign up. There's about four languages that I'd like to learn. I'm probably 40 classes behind all told, and yeah, I saw at some point I got behind, and now I'm playing perpetual catch up, and
Well,
that's
Stephen,
where I'm at.
Stephen, why you got you there real quick? Because again, we're kind of, squirreling all around in this dialogue, but clearly we need to have another AE science night, AI science night and everything, et cetera. But because I got you both here again and we'll drift back to it, but I want to jump to, because you mentioned Neuralink and
Yeah.
Elon Musk said, look, folks, get the upgrades, just get full cyborg so that we have, and I look at that, get full cyborg. So we've got some skin in the game. Maybe if the AI goes wacky on us. But I want to ask both of you, because I already know what I want. I want a quarter Clooney. I want a half Pitt, and I want to throw in a little, Abdul Jabbar Hyde in there. I'm ready. Give me the Neuralink. Give me the bionic eyes, bionic knees. I'm 100% ready to be a cyborg. I'm curious about either of you. Would you take cyborg implants if they were safe, FDA approved? Are you ready for them?
I'd slide. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm still thinking how I would answer that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it probably wouldn't be the FDA that I probably wouldn't seek their approval to begin with. But well, I mean, we were talking about the P53, the zombie gene in one of Jason's spaces,
Yes.
and nobody could explain why the research it was cut off for utilization in human beings. They were having positive outcomes, and by that I mean stage 4 lung cancer patients rolling back to nothing, perfect health. And the programs were abandoned, funding cut off, paperwork disappeared into obscurity.
Mm.
I'm sure filed in
Well, they're there
some
with the
case.
UFOs down there in Arizona. I mean, in New Mexico.
Possibly, I hate to mesh the two of those together. I'm a little more familiar with gene sequencing than I am with extraterrestrials.
Well, and we should have that gene sequencing dialogue too, Stephen, and get some people on here
Yeah.
as well, because Jasmine, Dr. Barry and I were talking about this just last night or the night before. These two things actually kind of need to be talked about together in a lot of
Yep.
ways. And that makes for some great conversation. With just 9 minutes to go, are you ready though, Stephen? Are you going to take some cyborg implants?
Yeah, I'm open.
Yes.
I'd like to finish this workout, but then maybe after.
I
Excellent.
would
What about you,
I would
Jazz?
consider it. I would definitely consider it, depending on what it does. I think
Uh-huh.
before I would take a cyborg implant for enhancement, I think I would use it to fill in the gaps of, maybe what I think is going on. So part of the story of, why I'm into the work that I do, especially as it relates to health. So I have lived a huge portion of my life with a chronic illness. So if there's a cyborg implant that can kind of reduce the effects of that, or get me back to functioning as a perfectly normal, healthy human being, I would definitely be on board with that. A little bit hesitant to possibly think about the effects of maybe enhancement, like to give myself supervision, or being able to jump,
Well, look, I mean,
through the
come on,
sky.
you're younger than me. You know what I mean? So, you got time. I'm ready. I'm just upgrade me. But
Yeah.
that,
Like, yeah, like as you get older, if I could, possibly extend my life in a way to help me have a higher quality of life with the
yeah.
cyborg implant at all, I think that could be a potential goal as well. So I would not
Well, there's
be
so many
too,
possibilities,
yes,
because even right
excited.
now, I would love a lightweight because I need to get my knees replaced, which would have been
Oh
replaced
no,
before COVID. But I'd also be very happy to get like a very strong, I wouldn't mind walking around with it if it were, somewhat looked decent, but a bit of an exoskeleton, right? You know what I mean? To help these
right,
knees work better, some other ideas, and still be able to kind of maybe able to keep the original equipment. Because see, I'd like to be able to play basketball again. I'll never be able to do that on the artificial knees. So it'd be cool if let's keep the originals, throw in some padding in there maybe, and give me an exoskeleton suit. So that's the other thing too. I think what we think of as cyborgs, there's going to be so many different possibilities and choices for people in the future. I tell my kids, they're 9 and 19 years old, just make sure you make enough money to get all the upgrades because they're coming. You know what I mean?
yes.
That you really
That's
need,
another part of
save.
the discussion. Yeah, like
Yeah.
will the
Yeah.
once the cyborg implants come out, or the the implants, the extensions, prosthetics, will only the rich and the most resource people, will they only have access to these upgrades, and leave everyone else behind?
Well, in my
Because they're not going to be
fantasy,
cheap. They're not going to be
right. And
cheap.
no, they won't. But in my fantasy, my super uber left fantasy, wherever I think everybody deserves, I think it should be a human right to have a floor, heat, all the basic necessities of
Yes.
life should come to
Yes.
everybody for free as a birthright. So then if that's the case, my dream is, where the robots go out into the fields every day, not sentient robots. I don't want to create slaves, just
Right.
unconscious robots that do everything for us and give us the ability to create the greatest music, or the ability just to sit around and do nothing, or the ability to reach for the stars, whatever it is, but give
So we have that
humanity
choice.
this level of something where everybody's a billionaire, meaning that everybody has access to whatever you need to have a very happy and pleasant life. That's the direction I would like to see it go in. I know there are capitalists that would somehow disagree with that. I don't know why, but they will. But
Yeah,
yes. So
yeah,
because we've only got about 5 minutes left, I would
yeah.
love to, as we're thinking about doing some more things on this platform, I think it might be
Right.
nice to do a show either before then and on here even, where we do a little bit, because Stephen brought up that good thing where we talk a little bit about the genes and the AI, and these different things. And we just pick a couple of solid topics, like I know you guys try to do on your show, and stick
Right,
to it.
right.
But tonight, I'm really happy that we kind of jumped around and we got to get to know a little bit about your background. We talked a
Yeah.
little bit about this, I hope in some accessible ways, but with just a couple of minutes left here, as we're coming up on an hour, I want to go back to Dr. Jasmine Berry at about 9 or 10. And I
Okay.
want you to
Oh,
I want you to
gosh.
pop into the bedroom as Dr. Jasmine Berry at whatever you are, 23, 24, whatever you are.
Oh,
And
no, far from that, actually.
well, we don't need
I
to know.
wish. I wish.
Yeah. No, I know it takes a little longer than that even to get those fancy degrees, but you know, you started at 12. But no,
Yeah.
I want you to just go back and sit in that room
Mhm.
and thank her, right? What does it look like to tell yourself where you are, you know, these many years later? Have a little conversation with yourself.
Wow. What would that conversation sound like?
Yeah. What would it sound like?
Yeah, that's a great, profound question that I've never been asked before. But I think around the age of 10, actually, yeah, at the age of 10, I think that I was put on a completely different trajectory that led me here where I am today. That's when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I
Oh,
talk about it a lot more on my Instagram page than I do on Twitter. And that really kind of set me up on a completely different path altogether. It's something that I still live with to this day.
sure.
And, after having that diagnosis, it really helped, put into a perspective for me to really focus on, how does my body work? Why did my pancreas fail? What changes can I make? And for me, using computer science and technology was a way to turn that around and help learn about how my body worked so that I can better take care of, my blood sugar control, diet and exercise, so I could really kind of tune in and learn about myself. So if I were to have a conversation with myself, at that age, I would say that, this isn't the end of your story by any means. This is just setting you up for what you were meant to work on all this time. And I really didn't understand it at that time at the age of 10, why, I had to take shots every time I ate a meal or, prick my finger. And over time, that really gets kind of exhausting. And
Sure.
doing that every single time, like food didn't become enjoyable for me anymore. It became
Right.
a chore. And I would, tell myself that, this is your starting point for you to do something useful within your community, for you to provide answers for the people in your community who are also going through the same problem, or suffering from other issues related to chronic illness. Because the work that I do right now is focusing on precision health and wellness, also called personalized health and wellness, about how we can use machine learning and data science to focus on providing prescribed treatments for the individual, and not just general treatments that
Tailored more for the specific individual.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how a diabetic lives, or every single day. Like, they have to find what works for their body,
Right.
uniquely to them every single day. So that's part of the big question that I'm answering now with my research is how can we
beautiful.
use AI principles to solve this? And I guarantee you, I would not be, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but it seems like I would not be answering this question or on this path to providing a solution to this big research question if I didn't have that experience as a 10-year-old. So I would just tell myself that don't worry, this journey is going to be worth it. Keep being disciplined, stay disciplined in your work, but enjoy the journey along the way. And, continue to, share the best of yourself with people, and making your mark on the world in the best way, the best way possible. And just kind of push forward, and just kind of motivating myself as a little 10-year-old. So I'll think more about that, because I think
Yeah.
I would probably tell myself more, but
Sure.
yeah, I think at the top of my head, that's something that I would say.
Well, if that lives on in your head like that, I think that's beautiful. And I want to, since I'm interviewing you and I'm going to, going to reach back and use that little bit of thought experiment to jump in that room too and say, hey, um, you have, you need to be proud of your future self and you need to be proud of yourself in that moment because you are on the road to accomplishing something that very few people do, which is to earn a degree in a field that is incredibly challenging. And
Yes.
you will, and you're on the path of doing amazing work in communities. I've seen what you've been doing at, middle schools with kids and, showing them how, the neural pathways and all of these things, because
Yeah.
we need to get all the young people, and especially in communities of color in these places, up to the level of, they need to be our next scientists. So they need to get,
I'm so
they need to
excited for
get ahead
them.
of the game. Yeah. And
Yeah,
there's
I'll just say
so,
I'm so excited for them because they have access to things that I wish I had access to at their age. So I'm just expecting them to be a lot better than my generation, which is, should always be our hope. We should hope for the
that is
generations.
hopefully the way that it is, because my
Yeah,
generation, that was actual steampunk. That's what we had. Like,
yeah, right, right.
practically steam powered things. I'm so old. But as we're wrapping it up, I definitely want to have you back for another
Yes,
AI and science night. I think there's just so many things we could cover, but I feel like we did a nice kind of general conversation and a great way to do this. I am going to definitely, we've talked about it, and I think we know we can work towards it, but invite you to be
definitely.
be they obviously, I don't think the folks at Fireside are going to have any problem making you a creator here, but I can't bestow you that, but I think I just did.
Oh,
And we'll
wow,
get
thank
you
you.
hopefully doing some some creative stuff here and doing some things together, and also um just having a scientist and a woman of color on a platform
Mhm.
like this or any platform, gosh darn it, Jasmine, that is a big deal. And, those
Yeah,
issues around social justice and racial equity and stuff. I mean, we've got a nonprofit that's been doing
right.
that, for a
Yeah,
decade. And, I'm about the only, there's just a couple of us that look like me. Everybody else, we've got a very diverse, group of people, and the brainchild, of course, behind it, Dr. Uh, um, McBride, her family's, originally from Haiti, but there's just so
oh,
many different things we can do and places we can go. And I would love to see you do some things on here, with or without me. I
right.
think it would be a lot of fun. But having these dialogues would be great. I want to say thank you to
Amazing.
Stephen and
Yes. I see
and
Jeff
thank
down there. Yeah.
yes, yep, yep. And this will make, I think this will live out into the ether in replays, and we will promote this out there. And then when we do our next one, we'll promote it out there a little bit. And again, I want to, look, DM me AI, right? Because I've got questions and we would love to talk to you. I have seen
I
these
have
things.
I have a question about that. Maybe
Mhm.
do you think the AI can function without it acknowledging us? It could thrive without that.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think so. I
Okay.
mean, I
Okay.
think I could, as much as I love people, and I'm a very people oriented person, I'm very introverted. I think if you let me loose on the internet, and do what I want within that. I mean, but the funny thing is too, is like, if you were to upload me into, my MacBook Pro without a physical sensation, I might go crazy, right? I mean, so there's just so many of these
Mhm.
assumptions that we kind of make. But I would hope to think that they would want to interact with us and learn and have fun, and grow. It'd really be neat if we could grow side by side with another species. Because, for example, Neanderthals or what are they? The Devesians. I can't remember the other, but so
The,
these other humanoid,
yeah.
human kind of groups, you know, it's kind of, it's interesting that the Denisovans, anyway, I'm getting close, but
Denisovan.
we could have evolved with separate human branches of species that would be
Right.
different. We ended up with just one, but there were several that were around fairly recently in the terms of history. So I think
Right.
it would be cool if we could grow together with the AI as just another species of sentient, conscious beings that want to, to learn and to grow. And so I'm putting the offer
I have an
out there.
argument. I
Mhm.
have an argument. What if that's already happening?
then that's awesome.
Well, I feel like AI is influencing us and how we
Ah,
even continue to evolve and how we're learning. It is shaping our minds as well, especially um, we do a lot more cognitive offloading now because of the devices around us. And I don't know if
wait,
you're
and I know
familiar
what
with.
that is, but
Yeah,
your
go ahead.
onboard brain. No, tell people what cognitive offloading is.
So cognitive offloading, it's our ability to offload things that we would normally remember,
Right.
offload them and onto other systems. Like
I
a
have no
very
idea
basic
what your phone
example.
number is. And I used to have dozens
Exactly.
of phone numbers memorized before
Exactly.
these
Like
phones, right?
same
I
here.
still have
Same
my
here.
phone number from kindergarten memorized, actually,
Right. Right.
and some others too. Yes. So yes, right. And that you're right. And they've wow.
So,
Okay. Well,
so
when is that
technology
show
is,
going? When are we doing
yeah,
that topic you just discussed? Holy cow.
yes.
So you're saying maybe the AI is already right there supporting us, you know?
I think so. It's already supporting us, and the devices around us already do that. Same thing with maps. Oftentimes, I don't know if you were, if you did this, but when I was a child and we went on road trips, we would print off the instructions for our destination, from
We had to bring
MapQuest.
actual maps, but yes, same
Yep,
thing.
exactly. Or yeah, I guess in your generation, you actually had
Yeah,
to
we
stop at
we
a gas
actually had to
station
have maps. Yeah.
and have a
Yeah.
map. My generation, we had MapQuest.
Right,
But,
right,
nowadays, sometimes you don't even need to, for the most part, remember a geographical location about how to get
right.
somewhere, as long as you have a map to, um,
Ooh.
uh, kind of
Oh my
give you
gosh, yes.
that location. So,
Oh, that's
sometimes
crazy.
yeah, sometimes it gets me in trouble because I could
Uh-huh.
take the Google Maps to a location for consistently for a very long time. And then at one time I don't use my maps, I feel like I'm lost. I feel like I can't,
Right. Well, you know
find my
what's
way
funny?
anymore.
You know what's funny? Because I've talked about this too once in a while, but I hadn't thought of it in this context. So, for example, any city that I've lived in that I've driven, I know the city well. Any city that I lived in pre-driving, I have no idea how to get around that town.
Yeah,
But I can get around New York City. I can get around Chicago. I can get around, all kinds of different places where I've driven extensively. But living in like Fort Wayne, Indiana, or something when I was 10, I don't know how to get around in that town because I didn't drive. So that is, that was the effect that off that cognitive offloading gives us good things and bad things in
yes,
terms of possibilities. Because if you do get out in North Dakota somewhere and there's no cell towers around, which, you can get out into the wilds of the Tetons there. And it's like,
exactly.
you better bring some maps. And in fact, every trip we've taken out west, we still have those map books
Yeah,
because you never know where you might lose cell service during a snowstorm or something. I mean, I've come over the mountains of in Utah, the Wasatch Range, and at the bottom, it'll be 60 degrees. You get to the top and there'll be 12 inches of snow, and you've been driving up there for an hour to get through the mountains and then back down, you know what I mean? And so there's all kinds of variables where you still need those tangible things. But wow, what a thing to
very good.
close this
And I'll
on.
give the and not the official definition, but maybe just another perspective of it. So cognitive offloading, from what I can remember as well, it's not just extending, it's really about extending minds with our devices, kind of like we mentioned before, and using your brain for thinking with the body, your surroundings, nature, your environments, your built environment, like things that you can actually construct, and also with other people. So that's where your cognitive offloading that isn't not just solely with devices or technology, but it can be with just things in your environment, other objects outside of yourself. And so it's how can I say it's existed before we've had AI, but AI is
Sure.
just accelerating it and enhancing it in a direction that I think we need to pay attention to.
Well, at 56, I don't need any more cognitive offloading. I'm having trouble keeping the stuff in there as it is. That's why I need the upgrades. Elon, Mr.
Right,
Musk.
right.
Let's
Oh
go.
my
I'll
God.
take the implants, buddy. I'm ready. I want to play a video game with my mind, man. It'll be
So
so
what if
groovy.
I don't know, what if the Tesla bot is a lot, is, I guess, you know what the Tesla bot is,
I
right?
do. I do.
Okay. So what if that just becomes the better option than a human with cyborg implants?
Oh, you mean it being uploaded into that? Oh, well,
Or
I would
just
have to.
having a Tesla bot. What if that becomes a better um, representation for what the world wants instead of just having a human with implants?
I as you know, look, I'm very
It's far
human.
fetched thinking because obviously
Yeah,
the Tesla
well,
bot is not going
yeah,
to
right. But I
be
mean,
there.
but you do challenge us, when you need to go here, but you do challenge us with the
Oh
idea
yes, you
of,
do.
yes, you do need to go, but you do challenge us with the idea of I'm very human. So as long as I have full human capabilities and experiences, from deep conversations to all the other fun things that humans can do, from roller coasters to sex to whatever, then I'm fine in there, right? But I wouldn't want to be limited, and I wouldn't want it to be artificial. I would still want it tactile, because that's my innate humanness. But I mean,
Right.
gosh, I mean, look again, Mr. Musk, I'll take it for a test drive if we're ready, for sure. But you got to tell me that I can get out if I need to. But what a
Right.
great, oh my gosh, so many different ways. I see EJ came in here, Jeff, Steven, anybody that's listening to this, and I know there will be plenty on the replay. Follow Dr. Jasmine Berry, Dr. JAS Berry on Twitter and on
Yes.
Instagram. And also, please, folks, support the young people out there, get them into these STEM technologies,
Yes.
create things.
Please.
We need the best and the brightest, and those always come, behind us. We need a good transference of energy and ideas from the older folks to the younger folks, and the computers are helping us do that as well. So as I
Yes. Yeah.
freeze up here, I'm going to let you wrap it up for just a minute, and I know you need to go, but we will be back, Dr. Berry and her much less intelligent, less attractive friend, me. We'll be back. We'll both be back together, I think, very soon.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
I am definitely looking forward to it as
Oh, your
well.
camera went away.
Yep, I turned it off because I had frozen there. I mean, if
Okay,
I'm
I
going to
thought the
freeze, I
show.
want
I
to.
thought the show ended. I thought the show ended. I thought I hit the wrong button, but yep.
Okay, yeah, see, I didn't freeze there.
Okay,
But
you didn't freeze. Well, thank you. I
All
just
right.
wanted to, before I head off, just wanted to thank you so much for having me. This was a wonderful discussion, and definitely won't be the last because you and we had discussions many times before, and know that there's a lot of opportunity to, really hit at the points that the community is concerned about as it relates to AI, especially bias and ethics. It seems to be what the public is most concerned about. So any way that I can bring clarification to that or any insight to that, I'm on board. And also talking about the futuristic opportunities within AI as well. That's what excites me. The ability for us to, continue to extend human life in the best way possible for everyone and for anyone as well. So thank you again, Rev. Thanks for Stephen for coming up, and I hope that I can be a part of this conversation again soon.
Yeah, and hey, look, Andrew Yang, universal basic income, great idea. How about just universal
Yes.
basic robot? Give us all robots, build us houses, do everything for us. Again, not as slaves, because you're not going to be conscious, but just
It's
as
harder than you think. It's harder than you think. Trust me, I'm working on some projects right now related to robotics in that space, and we have a long ways to go, but we're gonna get there.
we are going to get there. And as I tell my kids, after I die, keep me in the freezer at the restaurant down the street for at least 3 days, because I know the day after I die, they'll be able to bring people back. So don't cremate me right away. Right. You know what I mean? Like, keep me alive long enough, people, so I can have some fun in the future. We will talk about the future. And I think we also need to get back into the past. There is a guest that I would love to have, a couple of them, that we could kind of start on the journey in the other direction. That would be fun too. So we'll be back. Dr. Jasmine Berry again. Dr. Jasmine Berry. It wasn't that long ago that you were bestowed that title. So congratulations, since
few
I
years
didn't
ago.
know you
Thank
then.
you.
Yes, since I didn't know you then, I'm going to go reach back into the past and say, hell of a good job, Doc. And
Thank
we
you.
will all
Thank
see
you.
you soon. All right. Thanks, Doc.
Adios.
Adios. My name is Revolution McKinnis. Rev Mac Live everywhere. Talk with Revolution. We will see you next week. We have a very interesting guest possibility or two.